Hi guys, this is Hero. How's everyone doing today? So today I'm going over why you should try to predict in astrology or in Jyotish as general of things as possible and as things closest to the present as possible. Okay. Imagine you have a ball, okay, and you're trying to throw it in a hole. Okay. What would be easier? Throwing it into a hole that's very close to you and the hole is very big, or throwing it into a hole from very far distance and the hole is very, very small. Okay. The answer is obviously choice A. Okay. So in this analogy, you can kind of look at the distance between you and the hole as the length of time of that you're trying to predict, and the size of the hole is the specificness of the thing that you are trying to predict. Okay. Now, one thing to keep in mind here, there's a difference between there are some predictions that are very, very general, but that are disguised as being very specific. For example, you will get married within the next 10 years. Okay. You can see how this is not a very specific thing would be like, in 2029, between January 2nd and February 3rd, you'll get married. Okay. That would be an example of a very specific thing. But a very general thing is like sometime between now and February 3rd of 2029, you'll get married. Okay. That you can see how there are two different things. Okay. Now, moving forward. So you want to try to predict as general as possible and as near to the future as possible. Okay. Let me give you one thing, to kind of think about. Can you included, or anybody you know, or any astrologer that you know, can they predict what's even going to happen tomorrow? The answer is probably no. Right. So what makes you think that they can be extremely specific and predict about what can happen on this day 1 year from now, right? It's almost impossible. Okay. Now, that's not to say that there's no room or no place for predictive astrology at all. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is don't get, fooled by, especially like online people trying to predict extremely specific like life events or political events or something like this, right? This is all for show. This is not, it's like somebody shooting a basketball shot from like 100 feet away. Like, I mean, once in a while it might go in, but it's probably not going to go in. And here's the thing. If you shoot it from real far, yeah, you might get close, but did it go in? Did you get the points? No, right? But that's the other thing, right? So the purpose is to not get close, because then, I mean, you didn't really accomplish the goal, but somebody's trying to disguise it as if they, accomplish what they said they were going to accomplish, which is predicting this very specific thing, right? Imagine if I shoot it and I kind of just, hit the backboard or something like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I said it would kind of, that would kind of happen, right? That you can see how this is, just straight up bullshit. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Okay. You need to be smart, right? Anybody who's being like very, very, very specifically over the top in a very, long-term, manner, okay, I would immediately never watch them again. Okay. Now you can see like my videos, for example. I in my transit videos or dasha videos or whatever, I'm just kind of trying to teach you how to think, right? And this is important because, especially if you're analyzing your own life, everybody's gonna, everybody's Ketu is gonna be a little bit different. Everybody's, Buddha is gonna be a little bit different. Everybody's third house is gonna be a little bit different. Everybody's 10th house is gonna be a little bit different. Okay. So it's very important for you to just understand the concepts yourself and try to look out for yourself, right? You can use gurus, you can use all this stuff, but make sure that they're not just, these fancy prediction, cash cow people, right? Where they're just, You're basically almost just gambling away, right? You're basically paying them to think that hopefully they're right. Okay, so that's basically the presence of what I'm trying to avoid here. I noticed that this trend is unfortunately increasing. Okay, and that is also increasing the opposite extreme people, which I actually don't blame them. The people who are basically calling these people out. Okay. But what you have to understand is that both of them are extreme people, right? These people, which I actually almost side with more, they're basically saying that the specific astrology people are all full of nonsense, which that actually is true. But sometimes they go overboard and say that all astrology is nonsense, which is not true. Okay. I'm 100% sure about that. Okay. But it's just that the way that it's used, the way that it's marketed, everything, and the way that a lot of people talk about it is wrong. Okay. And then another thing, just because somebody has a big following does not mean that they know what they're talking about. In fact, it is probably the opposite. Okay. It is like, think about it. Is it easier to tame a sheep, or is it easier to tame a lion? Is it easier to tame 10,000 sheep, or is it easier to tame 10,000 lions? Okay. Somebody who has a lot of followers, I'm not saying every single one of their followers are just, a bunch of unaware, individuals or just a bunch of sheep or whatever. But if you're looking at just that pure perspective to see if you should follow somebody, that's not a great indicator. Okay. You need to just develop your own awareness and see what things make sense. Okay. And then another thing, unless you have a really close guru in your life, if your life is not the way it is spiritually, especially when it comes in terms of relationships, you need to take a very, very, very hard look in the mirror. Okay, that is probably your number one step. It is not to, contact some astrologer or something like that. There's probably some internal deep work you need to do, right? And maybe an astrologer might tell you that, but I don't really see too much of that. Okay, I don't. Okay, maybe you, in your religious sect or whatever, you're blessed with that opportunity that somebody is, just actually looking out for your well-being and is a great teacher in helping guide and develop your awareness. Okay, but most of the time that's definitely not what's going on. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I just wanted to make that clear. Okay, so yeah, until next time, I'll talk to everyone later. Thank you all very, very much for watching.